In the late 20th century, as the world grappled with post-war trauma, consumerism, and cultural fragmentation, a new form of painting erupted onto the scene, one that was wild, emotional, and unapologetically raw. This was Neo-Expressionism. With its explosive brushstrokes, distorted figures, and confrontational imagery, Neo-Expressionism rejected minimalism and conceptual art in favor of gut feelings and intense subjectivity. In this video, we dive deep into the heart of this provocative art movement, tracing its history, exploring its signature style, and celebrating the groundbreaking artists who gave modern painting its primal roar. From East Berlin to New York City, discover how Neo-Expressionism revived the power of paint and reclaimed the human experience. Neo-Expressionism emerged in the late 1970s and early 1980s as a dramatic response to the intellectual coolness of minimalism and conceptual art, at a time when many artists favored sleek design, theoretical approaches, and impersonal methods. Neo-Expressionists brought back raw emotion, personal narrative, and the human figure, often in aggressive, disturbing ways. The movement originated simultaneously in several parts of the Western world. Germany, Italy, and the United States were central hubs. In Germany, it was linked to the post-war movement Neue Wilde, the New Wild Ones, which referred to a rebellious generation of artists rejecting both classical art and the sanitized aesthetic of modernism. These German artists wrestled with their country's dark past, especially the legacy of Nazism, through emotionally charged and often grotesque imagery. In the US, a new generation of painters, including Julian Schnabel, David Sala, and Jean-Michel Basquiat, rose to fame in the booming New York art scene. These artists responded not just to art history, but also to capitalism, urban life, race, and identity. They pulled inspiration from graffiti, punk music, primitive art, and the chaos of modern life. Neo-Expressionism also reached Italy in the form of the Transavanguardia movement, led by artists like Sandro Chia and Enzo Cucci, who embraced symbolism, myth, and lush color palettes in a return to traditional materials and storytelling. This movement was also deeply commercial. Neo-Expressionist works were highly sought after in the 1980s, often selling for massive sums. Critics were divided. Some hailed it as a powerful reawakening of painting, while others dismissed it as a shallow, market-driven trend. Still, its influence and visual power could not be ignored. Neo-Expressionism is defined by visceral intensity, figurative imagery, and emotional depth. While individual artists had their own distinct styles, the movement shared key traits that made it instantly recognizable and deeply impactful. Bold, aggressive brushwork. These paintings feel urgent and instinctive. Thick layers of paint, often applied with palette knives or bare hands, create a textured, almost violent surface. Distorted human figures. Unlike the photorealistic or abstract work of earlier movements, Neo-Expressionists returned to the body, but not in idealized forms. Figures were often twisted, skeletal, exaggerated, or grotesque, symbolizing inner turmoil or existential angst. Vivid, clashing colors. Color was not used for harmony or beauty, but for emotional punch. Reds, blacks, electric blues, and harsh yellows conveyed tension, conflict, and intensity. Themes of trauma and identity. Neo-Expressionist works often reference war, memory, sexuality, mortality, and identity. The art acts like a scream on canvas, deeply personal, sometimes political, always passionate. Symbolism and mythology. Many artists layered their works with cryptic symbols, ancient myths, and recurring motifs, creating rich, dreamlike narratives full of hidden meaning. Large-scale canvases. These paintings weren't subtle, they were big, loud, and unapologetically in your face, commanding physical and emotional space in the viewer's experience. Primitive and outsider influences. Neo-Expressionists often borrowed from tribal art, graffiti, children's drawings, and outsider art to break free from academic traditions and tap into something primal and instinctual. At its core, Neo-Expressionism is about the return of the human soul to painting. Raw, chaotic, conflicted, and vividly alive, Neo-Expressionism gave rise to some of the most dynamic and unforgettable figures in modern art. Here are a few who shaped the movement. Jean-Michel Basquiat, USA. A former street artist who soared to global fame in the early 80s, Basquiat's work combined graffiti, poetry, anatomy, African-American history, and crown motifs into a visual language that was deeply personal and politically charged. Famous works include Untitled 1981 and Boy and Dog in a Johnny Pump. His early death at 27 only added to his mythic status. Julian Schnabel, USA. Known for his plate paintings, large canvases embedded with shards of broken crockery, Schnabel brought a dramatic, almost operatic scale to contemporary art. His work explored themes of mortality, spirituality, and classical reference. Anselm Kiefer, Germany. Kiefer's dark, monumental paintings dealt directly with Germany's post-war identity and collective guilt. Using materials like straw, lead, ash, and clay, he created haunting works like Sulamith and Seraphim. Georg Baselitz, Germany. Famous for painting upside-down figures, Baselitz explored trauma and reconstruction in post-war Germany. His raw, expressive style and defiant attitude became hallmarks of the movement. Francesco Clemente, Italy. A key figure in the Italian Transavanguardia, Clemente fused Eastern mysticism with Western imagery, creating dreamlike paintings full of symbolism, eroticism, and spiritual searching. David Salle, USA. Salle combined fragmented images from pop culture, fashion, and history, creating layered, cryptic paintings that questioned meaning and identity in the media age. These artists, despite differences in geography and background, shared a commitment to reconnecting painting with emotion, history, and the body, often at the expense of clarity or comfort. Neo-Expressionism's legacy is both celebrated and contested. It played a crucial role in reviving painting as a relevant and powerful medium, particularly during a time when it was thought to be dead in the face of conceptual and digital art. Revival of figurative painting. Neo-Expressionism re-legitimized painting the human figure. It created space for personal storytelling and emotional vulnerability in visual art, influencing later movements like the YBAs, Young British Artists, and the New Leipzig School in Germany. Rise of the artist as celebrity. The 1980s art boom saw neo-expressionist painters becoming global icons. Their massive success helped usher in the era of the superstar artist, paving the way for figures like Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons, and Takashi Murakami. Criticism of commercialization. Neo-Expressionism was also criticized for its commodification. Many works were accused of being style over substance, mass-produced for wealthy collectors. This criticism still affects how the movement is viewed by purists today. Enduring market value. Despite criticism, neo-expressionist works remain highly sought after. Basquiat's paintings have sold for over $100 million, proving their lasting appeal and cultural value. Influence on pop and street art. Artists like Kehinde Wiley, George Condo, and even Banksy owe a creative debt to neo-expressionism. Its rawness, accessibility, and political edge laid the groundwork for much of today's visual activism. Blurring the line between high and low. By pulling from street art, comics, and outsider traditions, neo-expressionism helped dismantle the barriers between fine art and mass culture. This openness still shapes today's post-internet and post-digital art scenes. In essence, neo-expressionism redefined what painting could be in the modern age. Messy, emotional, vulnerable, confrontational, and human. Neo-expressionism reignited the emotional fire of painting. In a world growing ever more digital, abstract, and detached, these works dared to be personal, painful, and profoundly human. Whether celebrated or criticized, neo-expressionism's influence still echoes through today's art. reminding us that raw feeling when placed on canvas can become timeless. In our next video, we'll journey back centuries to explore the rich, mathematical, and divine brilliance of Renaissance art, where humanism and harmony transformed the world forever.